In today's video, we're gonna go through a list of Fat Tire e-bikes that we here at Ebike Escape can get behind recommending to you guys. These are all gonna be e-bikes that we ourselves have ridden and tested, as well as e-bikes that we feel comfortable recommending to anybody, even our own parents. So before we get into that, everybody, I'm JT here at Ebike Escape, and behind me, you will see just a sampling of the list of e-bikes that we have to recommend to you guys here today. Now quickly, before we jump to some of those recommendations, why a Fat Tire e-bike? Well, if you're a consumer out there, you may notice this is a very big category of e-bikes and there's a lot of options out there for you to choose from. But why is it so popular? Well, we think that's because a Fat Tire e-bike is really a do-it-all e-bike, or it really has the capability to do anything you can throw at it, whether that be drive on just your regular paved roads or even some sandy paths if you drop those tire pressures down nice and low. This is going to be the bike that can do it all, and they just overall tend to have a beefier, more stylish appearance to them. Let's go ahead and throw down a couple ground rules on how this recommended or list of Fat Tire e-bikes is going to be given to you guys. First, price to performance is going to be key. It's very easy for us to pick a $5,000 to $8,000 Fat Tire e-bike and throw that out there, but that's not going to be something that has a mass market appeal. So we're going to be very conscious of price while going through this list and really the performance you're getting for that price. And another big thing for us here at Ebike Escape is going to be that pre and post purchase support. So that way you know that you have somebody to turn to if something does happen to go wrong with your new Fat Tire e-bike purchase. And lastly, one that may seem funny to some of you out there, that's going to be tire size. What is considered a Fat Tire e-bike? Us here at Ebike Escape, Brian and I, we had a different opinion on what we thought a Fat Tire e-bike was. We really only considered it a 26 by 4 inch tire bike, but after throwing up a poll on our YouTube channel, we found out that most people actually consider anything of a 4-inch wide tire, or even some down to 3-inch wide tires, are considered Fat Tire e-bikes to most people out there. So for this list though, we are going to be staying away from 20 by 4 inch fat tires, as that really gets into a lot more folding e-bikes, and this video would turn into a really long one. Let us know down in the comments if you do want to see a video on the recommended folding e-bikes that we do here at Ebike Escape would recommend to our parents, and we can definitely make that happen for you guys out there. But for this review, we're going to stick to 26 by 4 inch tires, as well as 27 by 3 inch, and at one, I believe it's even a 2.8. That's really, these are new contenders to the market, but we think to most people out there, they still have a larger tire and can handle some of those off-road terrains that these larger 26 by 4 inch tires are. So we're going to go ahead and throw those in this list as well. And I promise the last thing this time, if you are looking for in-depth information on any of these Fat Tire e-bikes or any bike that we cover on this list today, we have a full review for it live on our channel. This is going to be more of a surface level video where we're just going to kind of talk about some of the overview of a bike or a specific brand, maybe why you should or should not consider them over another one. But if you are the type of person like myself that wants every little bit of detail before you purchase something, be sure to watch the full reviews. They'll be linked down in the description. Also linked down in the description, we'll have a link to all of these e-bikes that you can purchase from the manufacturer's websites. If you do decide to make a purchase after clicking any of those links down below, that is a free and easy way to help support us here at Ebike Escape. Really keeps the lights on, helps us riding and reviewing cool e-bikes like this so we can share them with you guys out there. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into our first Fat Tire e-bike. Starting out our list, we felt it was only fair to start with maybe the old timer on the list, and that's going to be the Rad Power Bikes Rad Rover 6 Plus. Can be found on sale quite frequently, sometimes even including free accessories and things like that, and that's really what can be said about all the bikes on our list, is that all of the bikes, they've really been on sale this past year, so be sure to check the links in the description for the best and current up-to-date pricing, as well as maybe see what other free accessories or items you can get included with your bike. This bike has been around for quite a bit of time now, and really this is the 6th generation, hence the 6 in the name. So it means that this is the 6th iteration of this Fat Tire e-bike. Rad has been around for a very long time in the Fat Tire e-bike space, and arguably they even created the category of Fat Tire e-bikes. Now there were some other people out there, but they can definitely be given credit for popularizing that category. I probably see old Rad Rover 5s and 4s out on the road or when I'm out traveling quite a bit, especially when you go near national parks and things like that. And that's going to be thanks to Rad's really polish on having an accessible tuning system, as well as a very accessible bike overall. You can see here we have the step-through version. There is also a high-step version, which has a top tube. Now, the Rad Rover model has been out for quite some time now, so it may lack on some of the technology features that some of the other bikes have, like app connectivity and things like that, but it is still a very nice, approachable e-bike. This is one of the few Fat Tire e-bikes that I think even exist on the market that hold to a rigid Class 1, Class 2 denomination. That's going to be the federal classification, so it means that you'll be able to ride this bike really on any terrain or any bike path as long as they allow e-bikes, but be sure to consult all local laws and regulations. But besides missing some of those technological features, you still get some very important items for us to be able to recommend e-bikes to people out there to ride, and that's going to be hydraulic disc brakes for one. You're going to get a name brand, a recognized brand that is going to stand behind their product. You're going to get also a full featured e-bike with name brand components. So you get a complete rear rack, you get a brake light, you get a headlight, you get Shimano drivetrain. They really kind of thought about everything with this e-bike and really spec'd it so that shows that even now with the bike showing its age, it still is a nicely featured e-bike that we can recommend. Now, Rad's answer to the Rover's age, we think is going to come in the form of the Radster Trail. Now, that bike I don't have here with me, as Ryan still has it at his house. He's enjoying that bike, but that is a all new bike from Rad. It sports different sized tires. It has a completely different frame. Now, in the Fat Tire department, we really think that they're coming out with the new age Fat Tire e-bike with the Radster Trail, as the tires that are on that bike are 27.5 by 3 inch. So still a nice bubbly tire, but you get about an inch less tread than the 26 by 4 inches here. But you also get a little bit of a beefier wheel. It tends to roll over things a lot nicer. Now, these tires and sizes are very common in the mountain bike space. Matter of fact, I think 2 of my mountain bikes have that size tire on it. I don't have 29ers, but I have found riding myself, those 27.5 by 3 inch tires can handle most things you can throw at it, loose mud, sand, anything like that. Even at speed on mountain bike trails, don't recommend you try that, but I have a lot of confidence in them. And so recommending them to people or recommending that bike in place of a Fat Tire e-bike, I can definitely stand behind. Now, the Radster Trail, I think, outshines the Rover, mostly just because of its age. The Radster Trail has a lot of amenities that we find on other bikes, but they've now been incorporated with Rad's twist, where they are nicely polished and well integrated. First one being your ability to change up into Class 3, meaning you can pedal up to a top speed of 28 miles an hour, where previously all Rad models were limited to 20 miles an hour. They even added some other technology to that bike. They have an RFID tag for unlocking. They upgraded the battery slightly, as well as they changed out the pedal sensor to a torque sensor, something that we've been very excited for Rad to do for a while, as their tuning on their controllers and bikes and riding characteristics has really been kind of a step above most other e-bike manufacturers out there. So very excited for that torque sensor tuning. Now, of course, the Radster Trail being the new kid on the block comes in at a little bit higher of a price tag over the Rover. And the Rover here, and one last big consideration I think you should have if you're looking at the Radster Trail, is that it is offered in multiple frame sizes, just giving you that extra bit of customizability to really get the bike to fit you. So let's go ahead and move on to the next Fat Tire e-bike. Next up on our Fat Tire e-bike list of recommended e-bikes, we have the Aventon Aventure.2. That's right, another Fat Tire e-bike that has multiple generations. They really improved upon this model from the previous generation. We'll talk about some of those changes in a second. First thing I do have to do is apologize that this bike is not in stock form. This bike is outfitted with quite a few accessories. Now, the reason for those accessories is that this is Ryan's dad's personal Aventon Aventure.2. This is the e-bike that he rides all the time. He's got quite a few miles on this bike, rides it around by the lake all the time. So what accessories does Ryan Dad have on this bike, and why would they be there? Just very quickly, let's touch this suspension seat post here. If you've never ridden a bike with a suspension seat post, highly recommend one. We sell them in our shop.ebikeescape.com store. That is another free and easy way to help support us. So if you already have a Fat Tire e-bike, you're trying to make the ride a little bit more comfortable, definitely recommend picking up one of those. We have the Cloud9 seat. Up here on the handlebars, we have our bike case elastic phone mount here. Highly recommend that phone mount. I use the handy clamp, but Ryan uses this elastic mount as his phone's a little bit bigger. We also have a handlebar mirror, and the grips have been changed out. And we have some very nice bright Hafni aluminum pedals down there. And then up here in the front, you will notice that there is a front rack. The front rack is not included. This is a aftermarket purchasable accessory from Aventon. Most of the manufacturers on the list sell cargo packages, whether it be a rear basket, front basket, or a combination of both of them. Just allows you to add a little bit extra utility to your bike. But back to the bike itself. Now, the Aventon Aventure.2, this bike came out almost about 2 years ago. And when it came to the market, it really shook up what we had seen from Fat Tire e-bikes. First, First reason is going to be it integrated a very nice color LCD display, came with a very powerful 750 watt motor that was peaking much higher than that. It really gave you the ability to get to that 28 mile/hour speed quite quickly. It also came with name brand components throughout. You got Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, we've got Shimano shifting components, and in typical Aventon fashion that we have seen here, you get some really nice styling cues. So first one you're going to notice on this bike is that you're not going to notice any weld seams here. They really do a good job smoothing those out, as well as in the rear there, you get some really nice integrated rear brake lights, kind of disappear into the frame, but still add that little extra safety for anybody riding behind you. They do operate with the brakes. And then what was the biggest change was that the Aventon Aventure.2 switched up to a torque sensor from the traditional cadence sensor that we were seeing on all Fat Tire e-bikes. Now, what a torque sensor does versus a cadence sensor, very quickly, a cadence sensor is like an on-off switch. If you're pedaling, switch is on, bike is giving you power. When you stop pedaling, switch turns off. But a torque sensor has a lot more magnets and sensor placements in there, so it actually measures how much force you're putting in, how many rotations you're putting into the pedal, and it amplifies that and gives you power based upon that, and it ramps in and out the power, so it just feels more like a natural pedaling experience. Now, the price point that the Aventon Aventure.2 competes at is a very competitive price point. At that point, you get all these standard bits, whether it be hydraulic disc brakes, about a 14 amp hour battery, you're gonna get rear rack, you're gonna get fenders, you're gonna get items like that. However, a couple things that help the Aventon Aventure.2 stand out. One is gonna be that torque sensor. Two, you get integration in those rear taillights of blinkers, not something we see at a lot of bikes at this price point. And number three has got to be a dealer network. That's right, you get access to 1,000+ dealers in the United States alone. That's going to give you the ability, if you want to maybe look at an Aventon Aventure pre-purchase, you could find that list of dealers, see if maybe you can go actually sit on one, or it gives you the ability, if you have a problem, to help get it fixed by a knowledgeable local bike shop. Now, and I'm going to assume that dealer network is probably one of the reasons, A, why Ryan's dad picked this bike, but B, also one of the reasons why when I'm out traveling, the Aventon Aventure is the most popular bike that I see out and about, second only to the old Rad Rovers or even the Rad Rover 6. Next up, we have the newest Fat Tire e-bike to our list, or really to the segment. That's going to be the Lectric XPeak here. Now, this bike really did what Lectric does best. They came into a segment and really shook it up. This bike came offered to the market at just $13.99, and that was at a time when almost all of the Fat Tire e-bikes that you're going to see on our list started at $19.99. So it was really to see Lectric come in and kind of shake that up. Now, I know what most of you out there are thinking. Lectric must have cut some corners or offer some low quality components. That's simply wouldn't be true. What Lectric did is they leveraged their ability to utilize parts they use on a lot of their models and brought them into the Lectric XPeak here. And that means that you get similar drivetrain to a lot of the bikes. You get a Shimano drivetrain, you get a powerful 750 watt motor, you get hydraulic disc brakes, you even get a very bright headlight, included rear rack, and included is this RST Renegade front fork. Now, that front fork allowed them to rate the frame to e-mountain bike standards, which means that it's a very robust bike entirely, and really shows you that they didn't really skimp out on any manufacturing. And another clue to that is going to be in the electronics components of this bike. All of the components on the Lectric XPeak model are UL certified, so it means from the battery to the entire display are all UL certified, so you also get that little bit of peace of mind that you have a safe electronic system and you don't have, bum cells in the battery that's going to cause you any issues. Now, besides Lectric offering some great price to performance, another reason that we have to recommend them is that their assembly times are probably the lowest. Their box to ride time is probably one of the lowest on the market. For the XPeak here, the box is custom designed to actually fold down in the front. You then pull your bike out, and the only thing you have to attach is the front wheel. The fork is twisted in the box, as well as another nice thing about their boxing system is that they have recently gone to eco packaging, so you will find very little plastic and very little things that are not recyclable in there. A lot of it is cardboard and things like that. And this bike arrived as you saw it here, and the only thing I had to do was install that front wheel and then of course charge your battery. And the next biggest thing that stands out about Lectric e-bikes has got to be their customer support team. You have the ability to call in or email them, get a very quick response, and have probably some of the best post-purchase support via an online or call center. You'll be able to call in, get your problem solved, talk to a real person, US based in Arizona, and get back and riding very quickly. Now, don't take just our word for it. Be sure to reference Facebook groups and other online resources like that. It's pretty much a unanimous reason why a lot of people like Lectric e-bikes, not only for the price to performance, but also because of that customer support if they know anything goes wrong. Next up on the list of Fat Tire e-bikes, we have the Ride1Up Rift here. Now this is the Fat Tire e-bike that we didn't really expect when it was announced and released. That is simply because Ride1Up was a brand that built their entire name on commuter style e-bikes only, but some of the bikes that followed the Rift really showed that they were shifting away from that. They developed the Rev 1, as well as they've really kind of redefined and went into more niche markets with such bikes as the CF Racer, their carbon fiber gravel bike. But the Rift stood out to us if for one reason and one reason only, it's because it is a very beefy style and built up frame here, but it's got to be that welded and integrated rear rack. Now that rear rack has a weight capacity of 150 pounds. That is very impressive considering that there are even some cargo e-bikes that we review that do not have that high of a rear weight capacity. Now the Rift's beefiness does not stop at the frame and rear rack design. It also goes into that rear motor. That is a 750 watt nominal rear motor that peaks much higher than that. You get to control some of the pedal assist levels and stuff like that via the Ride1Up color LCD display over here. And the beefiness continues into the brakes, helping getting things slowed down. You get some 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes, 2 pistons more than we typically see on bikes, and then helping you stay going. Not only that motor, you also get a large battery. It is a 20 amp hour battery that's going to be larger than what we typically see offered around this price point. Not the biggest, but definitely up there. And that battery should give you the ability to get a range of somewhere between 45 and 60 miles, really going to depend on how much throttle you use. Ride1Up was actually Ryan's first e-bike here at E-Bike Escape, and this brand has just continued to develop new bikes. And one thing that they have become known to us here at E-Bike Escape for is going to be offering you the most bang for your buck that they can, as well as offering some unique design and really some nice characteristics as far as frame design and things like that. And we think the Rift checks all of those boxes very nicely. Now, the next e-bike we have on our list is going to be the Euphree Stellar Falcon. Now, the Stellar Falcon is a new e-bike to the market, and really until that poll we did with you guys, Ryan and I probably wouldn't have considered it a Fat Tire e-bike, as it has 27.5 by 2.8 inch tires. But nonetheless, after that poll, we now can consider the Radster Trail and the Stellar Falcon here a Fat Tire e-bike. So why should you consider the Stellar Falcon? Well, let's start out first with the brand. Euphree is a small brand based in Texas. They offer 2 models, the City Robin, which is their commuter style e-bike, and then now they have the Stellar Falcon, which is more of their Fat Tire e-bike. Now the Stellar Falcon does come in a bit higher price than some of the other e-bikes on our list. However, it comes with a higher feature set, we think, than some of the other e-bikes on the list. Well, first let's start out with some of the things that you do get on the other e-bikes that you also get on the Stellar Falcon. First is going to be you get a 750 watt motor that's going to peak higher than that. You're going to get a 15 amp hour battery. You're going to get UL certification, which is going to give you that extra peace of mind for safety. You're also going to get that 8-speed Shimano drivetrain, which gives you that little bit extra gearing for riding maybe up hills and things like that, as well as hydraulic disc brakes and a suspension front fork. From there, you kind of step up. The suspension front fork that you get is an SR Sun Tour air suspension front fork, so it gives you the ability to tune that. As a mountain biker, I prefer air. You also get an SR Sun Tour suspension seat post, which means that this is arguably going to be one of the most comfortable e-bikes on our list. You also get 4 different colors. Now, of those 4 different colors, we think Euphree does a really good job picking more premium colors. What I mean by that is that their colorways tend to have a little bit more of a sparkle and a shine to them. Really cool colors that you just kind of have to see in person to really appreciate. Even their black had a lot of shine in it when I saw that one in person. And then lastly, and probably the biggest feature that we think everybody should know about Stellar Falcon, and that's going to be that the pedal sensor is going to be not just a torque sensor, not just a cadence sensor. You actually have the ability in the display to choose, giving you the ability to customize your riding profile depending on how you're feeling that day. And that's just a really cool feature that we don't see on other Fat Tire e-bikes, or really on any e-bikes in the current e-bike space. Hoping that becomes a bit more common, as it's a really cool feature. Next up, we have one of the fastest Fat Tire e-bikes on our list that is really only outdone by the next one on the list, but more on that one shortly. Here we have the Ariel Rider Kepler. Now this is the Fat Tire e-bike from Ariel Rider. Ariel Rider is known for making fun, stylish, and fast e-bikes, and this Ariel Rider Kepler follows that to the T. They mostly make moped style e-bikes, but the Kepler here is their Fat Tire bike that they offer. Now, one of the Kepler's shining features is going to be its 52 volt system and its 1000 watt motor that's peaking close to 1800 watts. What that means is that this bike in our testing carried me, a 225 pound rider, to speeds close to 32 miles an hour and up our hill climb test at some very impressive speeds. Now, going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here. The Kepler, when it is overridden and reaching those speeds, does not fit into any federal recognized customized e-bike classification. What that means is that it goes either too fast or has too big of a motor. When you purchase this bike, you have to consult all of your local laws and regulations to make sure that you are in compliance or that you understand what you are getting yourself into. And one other thing that I just want to state that I'm trying to get in the habit of stating, especially with as fast as some e-bikes are that we are reviewing, is that e-bike trail access is something that can be taken away, and you have seen that in some locations. So please, if you are riding your e-bike, please ride it responsibly. Doesn't matter if it's one of the fast e-bikes here or if it's even a slower e-bike. All e-bikes could jeopardize trail access and availability to everyone. Now, while the Kepler out of the box comes shipped as a Class 2 e-bike, which means it has a top speed limited via throttle and pedal assist, it is overrideable to reach the 32-mile-an-hour speed via throttle power alone, if that is what you wish to do and you were in a off-road setting. Now, getting off my little soapbox there, the features of the Kepler don't stop there. You also get a very nice color LCD display, that powerful rear motor. You get a 52 volt 20 amp hour battery, which means that as long as you stay off the throttle, you'll get a very impressive range number. You also get Tektronix hydraulic disc brakes, a Shimano drivetrain, and kind of all the other features that we saw on a lot of the other bikes, but just with that little bit higher of a top speed. Now, if you were one of the few people out there that was listening to me talk about the Kepler and you're like, I just want something a little bit more in all the departments, that is going to be the Wired Freedom here next to me. The Wired Freedom pretty much takes all of the dials for the suspension, motor, and everything and turns them up a little bit and just gives you a little bit more. What do I mean by that? Well, starting with the frame, not only do you get a front suspension fork, you get an RST guide, but in the rear, you get a air shock from DNM. So it means you're going to get both cushioning, both front and rear. Then you have, of course, the electrical system, which on the Kepler was a 52 volt, but you get a 60 volt system. That 60 volts is from the battery through the controller to the motor.
The controller is a 40 amp controller,
which is a massive controller. If you can just tell by the size of the case here, I even think being that far back, you're going to be able to see that up close. And then you have the rear motor. Now, the bike does come shipped as a Class 2 e-bike, but this bike out of the box was probably one of the fastest e-bikes I've ever ridden. And that rear motor has the capability of peaking well into the
2200 watts.
When overridden, of course, and on a closed course. In our testing, I was able to reach speeds somewhere in the 35 to 36 mile an hour range, and that was on flat ground. So it's very impressive for an e-bike. And some might even argue out there that that's not really an e-bike, and then others out there just decide everything that is on a bike frame is an e-bike. Depends on which camp you fall into, but nonetheless, the Wired Freedom is a very impressive e-bike and checks all the boxes. Now, when we received this bike, I really thought, how could they outdo it? Well, in the 2024 model, they outdid it. They outfitted the bike with 2 batteries. Now, I believe you even get a slightly larger motor. And this Wired Freedom here is offered in the Cruiser model. It's the Wired Cruiser. And that model used to be a hardtail, but is now offered in a full suspension, very similar to this. Now, this bike does run a bit large, so just keep that in mind when you're shopping. Look at me standing next to it. This is a much bigger bike than some of the other ones that we were showing you. And Wired is a small brand based in the US in a suburb outside of Chicago. I have heard good things about their customer support, so if they are a brand that you're interested in looking into, I wouldn't be shied off by that. All right, we're going to call this one the honorable mention section. And in here, I'm just going to mention some other Fat Tire e-bikes. If you looked at all the ones on the list and were like, I really kind of want a little bit more here, a little bit more there, or just kind of want a few more options to look at, these are going to be the e-bikes for you. And another reason that we didn't want to mention these in the full part is that we think some of these e-bikes are going to be getting maybe a little bit of a refresh now for the 2024 model year. So let's just kind of hold on and see what some of these e-bikes turn out to be at the end of the year. But quickly, the current models for these brands, first one's going to be the Velotric Nomad 1. Velotric's a brand that's been around for a long time, and when the Nomad 1 came out, it basically took everything they learned from their commuter style e-bike and put it into a very compelling package of a Fat Tire e-bike. And currently it's on sale for $12.99. You wanted a uniquely colored, very capable Fat Tire e-bike, definitely worth checking out that one. Also, if you're looking for maybe a more e-mountain bike style Fat Tire e-bike, but don't really want to pay the premium of a true e-mountain bike, Velotric has recently offered the Summit 1, which is a very cool mountain bike inspired. It has a different frame style and everything like that. Definitely worth checking out as well for a similar price point to some other e-bikes on the list. And I hinted a little bit there at deals, but again, be sure to check the link in the description for the best current up-to-date pricing on all of these bikes. Heck, some of the e-bikes that I listed before even are throwing in free batteries given the current time. So definitely worth checking out the link in the description for the current pricing as well as the current deal. Next up, one of the bikes that we reviewed this year that I thought was really cool was the Mokwheel Basalt. That was a very fast fast and capable e-bike. Also had the ability to be powered by the sun, which unfortunately has just gone behind the clouds for me, but it was able to have a solar inverter hooked up, and really you could actually use that inverter to change the power from the battery into actual usable power, kind of like a mini generator. But the bike was also very well spec'd, very capable, and also sported a torque sensor and was very brightly colored. So that is another review that may be worth checking out. And then another e-bike that I know the new model just did recently come out, but it was a bike that we really loved here in the channel when we reviewed the previous model, and that was gonna be the Himiway Zebra. That was a large 20 amp hour battery Fat Tire e-bike that was also, again, very capable, very nicely spec'd, and definitely worth spending your time checking out. And if you do want any more details on any of the bikes on this list, be sure to click that playlist in the upper right-hand corner. In our videos, we go into a lot more in-depth, as well as give you some riding footage so you can get an idea of top speeds, how the bikes ride, as well as just all of the components that make up the bike. And then down in the description, again, will be a link to all of the e-bikes that we listed here. If you do decide that you're ready to make a purchase of any of the bikes, doing so after clicking any of those links is a free and easy way to help support us here at E-Bike Escape, helps us continue to review cool e-bikes like this. Thank you again for all of the support and all of the continued support from everybody out there. So that was our list of Fat Tire e-bikes that we recommend to our friends and family. What are the ones that you guys find yourself recommending to friends and family? What brands did we miss? Let us know down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching until this point. Ride safe, everyone, and I'll catch you all in the next one.